One of the ways to best argue for a universal healthcare system like we have in Canada is the fact that we can't, we're not going to go broke because of an unfortunate incident. The number one cause of bankruptcy in America is because of healthcare costs. The welfare state, so the establishment of things of like uh, employment insurance, welfare, and even healthcare eventually was set up after or in response to the Great Depression. So before the Great Depression, Canada had a very laissez-faire or hands-off approach to the free market economy, to social programs. Then the market crashed and we had this great drought. And that's when the citizens said, okay, government, we need help here. And previously, a lot of the help was provided by churches, and churches were places for homeless and for the unemployed and the sick to go. This was the start of of our welfare state in Canada. And then the idea is if you fall, the government is there to provide a crutch or to haul you back up and keep you stable on your feet. Are there people that abuse it? Yes, there are. Many sociologists and your sociology professors at school next year usually lean left. So the arguments for a universal healthcare system are very left wing. Um, and to articulate the benefits, I think, of a universal healthcare system, what we do in the traditional class is watch Michael Moore's Sicko. I'm not going to have you do that. I'm going to post a link below that'll show you Sicko. Again, I don't know how legit the link is, and I'm not going to make you watch it, but it'll be there. I'm just going to go over some points that Michael Moore brings up. Now, Michael Moore is one of the most biased journalists, if you can call him a journalist. I guess he's a filmmaker, but he does some questionable things to get his points across. So some people can't stand him, um, but hopefully these points might um, contradict the privatized points that you'll see in or you saw in the previous or heard in the previous um, podcast. So some intriguing statistics. 50 million people uh, in America have no health insurance, and 18,000 people will die because of having no insurance. And if you if you watch Sicko, you will see people being rejected for healthcare costs because of predetermined conditions. Something as frivolous or as silly as having just like high blood pressure or anxiety disorders, and so that's the way for the insurance company to kind of reject your claim. We don't have to take our checkbooks in Canada to the hospital, and personally, I think that's great. Um, Canadians are led to believe that healthcare is almost a human right, where in the U.S. it seems to be that health and medicine is a business. Um, and I have a hard time articulating and not being too biased here. So please take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Um, so points to the again, if you, sorry, Michael Moore will use very questionable methods. He will interview people, and he'll only use tidbits of what they actually say, and he won't use the full story. He will set people up. And take people's quotes out of context. And he's done that with George Bush a number of times. Um, Points to the conflict theory. Conflict theorists, again, was looking for how the bourgeoisie or the rich are advantaged over the poor. Well, in this film, what they say is if you have student debt and you have healthcare debt, you have to get a job. And you can't quit that job because you need to pay off your debts. And sometimes jobs will come with health insurance. So you'll get a job, you'll get health insurance with that job, and you can't quit because if you quit, you lose your healthcare coverage, you lose your money to pay off your debt. So you're going to be in good employee. Okay. Um, the healthcare system in the USA, Wilmore talks about how it's the worst infant mortality rate in the Western world. He says that a baby born in El Salvador has a better chance of living than a baby born in downtown Detroit. Where he's getting these statistics, I'm not sure, but I'm just I'm trying to relay this to you. He goes to Canada and he sees a number of different anecdotes of people, and you have Americans marrying Canadians just for the health care, which maybe tests the ethical boundaries. But Canadians have a 3-year longer life expectancy than Americans. He goes into the to the UK or Britain, and he sees free prescriptions or a standard fee to reimburse. He goes to a doctor and talks about how this doctor is paid. Um, and this doctor says, he's got a very comfortable lifestyle in this public universal healthcare system. Um, if he wanted more, maybe a privatized system would help. And just as a side note, we get a sense of what the American healthcare system is. If you've ever watched Grey's Anatomy or the Denzel Washington movie where he holds the hospital hostage, can't think of that name of that movie. Or if you've ever seen Robin Williams in uh, Hunter, Patch Adams. Patch Adams is the name of that movie. So if you're ever bored, I don't know if Patch Adams is on Netflix or that Denzel Washington one, but I would recommend it if you ever have some downtime. Great movies. The healthcare system in France, on sicko, it almost seems too good to be true. But in Europe, they do have mandatory vacations, mandatory sick days. They have dial a doctor programs. They have in-service help for people who have babies. So you have like someone come in and help you out with the baby and teach you parental care and such. The way more shows that it's almost too good to be true. But I mean, it could be. And I don't know what the tax system is like in France, but I'd imagine it's fairly high. And then finally, he goes to Cuba. And ever since the Cold War and the Cuban Missile Crisis, there's been a lot of tension between Americans and Cubans, well, in terms of their political leaders. But according to uh, Michael Moore, they have a higher life expectancy, a lower infant mortality rate. They're really into preventative medicine and have some of the best technological medicine in the world. Um, Again, uh, Cuba is a communist state, so many people have problems with that. So that was a pod that was kind of all over the place. If you want to really embrace what Michael Moore is saying, check out the link below and have a watch of Sicko. Thanks.